I'll be waiting for everyone to put their name. I want to get to know everyone too. My name is Peculiar Shado. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you so much, Hassan, for joining this call. You're welcome specially. Thank you so much. All right, Elizabeth Kolade, cybersecurity professional. Wow, thank you so much for joining this session today. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so this webinar, the theme of this webinar is building a cybersecurity future, turning our skills into career. Thanks so much, Grishon from Kenya, a network administrator. Thank you for joining this call. So the theme of this webinar is building a cybersecurity future, turning our skills into career. And at the end of this session, I hope that we'll gain valuable insights on how we can understand how we can acquire the right skills in cybersecurity and gain access to career opportunity in this ever-evolving field. All right, so before we go into this session fully, I'd like to set some ground rules. Please, if you are not speaking, I'd like you to mute your mic. And having said that, if you have any question, I would like that you drop it in the chat box, and those questions will be answered after every speaker's presentation. All right, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, which is Dr. Ademiluyi. Please let's give him a round of applause. Let's use a round of applause to welcome Dr. Ademiluyi. All right, so Dr. Ademiluyi is a cybersecurity expert, a technocrat, a subject matter expert, and a valued certified professional. He is a graduate of the University of Lagos, Nigeria. He holds a PGD in computer science and an MBA from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Oyo State, Nigeria, as well as a doctorate degree in cybersecurity and data privacy from the prestigious Missouri Imperial College, United States of America. Please, let's keep that applause coming. Please, let's keep it coming, please. All right, he's trained as an information security consultant at the Institute of Information Security, Mumbai. He also has various international recognized certificates. He's also a 3-time SANS trained professional, a member of many local and international associations and professional bodies, such as Chartered Institute of Management Consultants, Artificial Intelligence Management, and Financial Institution. All right, he's also an alumni of Lagos Business School, Nigeria, and Lagos Business School, Ghana. Please let's give a resounding applause for Dr. Ademiluyi. Please, I'm not seeing that applause. Please, let's keep the applause coming. All right, Dr. Yemi, thank you so much for joining this call. I hope that we'll get a wonderful presentation from you today. Thank you so much for joining. Please, like I said before, if you have questions while the speaker is presenting, drop your questions in the chat box and they will be answered accordingly. All right, Dr. Yemi, over to you. Thank you so much.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are joining from. I hope you can hear my voice, Peculiar.
Yes, loud and clear. I can hear your voice, sir.
All right, thank you so much. That was a very wonderful introduction. Let me start by saying a very big thank you to the convener of the GoLegit for giving me an opportunity to come to this platform to talk to you about what is really matter when it comes to career development, skill development, and then career path for the cybersecurity enthusiasts and people who are really also interested in joining the cybersecurity domain, and also people who are currently on the job of cybersecurity who are also thinking of the next level. So I like to say you're welcome. All right, Peculiar, do you want me to start with my presentation now?
Yes, you can go ahead, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, so I have a short presentation for us. Though initially I wanted to speak about it, but I think it's good since you said that it will be good for me to show something. So let me quickly share my screen so that we can also be on the same page.
All right, Sam. That would be very nice.
Please confirm you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can
Please
see your
confirm you
screen,
can see
sir.
my screen. All
We
right,
can see your
great.
screen. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. So there is no need for more introduction. I think Peculiar have said so much about who I am, but let's go quickly directly to the topic of the day, which is actually about skill development and career pathways in cybersecurity. So when you talk about skill development, a lot of things comes to mind. But very importantly is that we need to understand that skill development means building capacity to do something and to do it very well. And then when it comes to cybersecurity, there are a lot of different domains in cybersecurity. And then the domain is very, very competitive. What I mean by competitive is that this is a domain that is required globally, and we have a lot of people, a lot of players in that particular domain. So, meaning that if actually you're choosing this domain of cybersecurity, you must build your capacity to be able to play with the world class, with the world class professionals. Means that cybersecurity is a very sensitive environment. It's a very sensitive subject. It's a subject of national security. So, if you're choosing cybersecurity, your skill has to be top notch, and then it has to do with building your capacity so that you can be able to do it well. Also, it is a process of identifying, improving, and applying your abilities to enable you to perform the task. And to perform it, not just doing it, but do it effectively and efficiently. So, what I tend to say here is that, for instance, when you talk about cybersecurity, you're talking about the good part and the bad part. Now, the good part is that cybersecurity is a skill that enable individual professionals to be able to leverage on that to gain a livelihood. Also, cybersecurity is also a kind of component of security that helps organizations to fortify their infrastructure. The bad side is that you have some bad elements like the threat actors, the bad actors, the cyber criminals, the malicious criminals, trying to take advantage of that particular domain, trying to leverage on the infrastructure which is used, to transform business, to promote business services, while leveraging on it to steal money, to compromise database, to compromise data, and then to steal from people who are negligent, who doesn't really have the good knowledge. So it involves gaining new knowledge, new techniques, and competencies. So a quick one to go into the type of skill development. So when you talk about the type of skill development, you're talking about probably the academic skill, you're talking about technical skill, you're talking about professional skill and lifelong skill. But when it comes to cyber security, all these are required depending on the various domain which you want to focus on. For instance, if you want to go into cybersecurity as a lecturer in the field of cybersecurity, or you want to be facilitating, you need good knowledge of the domain. So academics knowledge comes in here. It requires research, it requires critical thinking, learning strategy, and it has to be an ongoing, activity. It's not a one time. Now, when you talk about technical, you talk about the vocational. I mean, there are a lot of things that are expected from you beyond you doing the programming. You must also understand the technical components that form the appliances, the devices that you're going to be using as a cybersecurity professional to protect your organization. Now, when it comes to the professional skill, you're talking about leadership skill, you're talking about project management skill, you're talking about program management skill, you're talking about even security incident management skill. You're talking about threat hunting skill. All these require, and also if you are going to communicate to the senior level, you also need some level of communication skill to be able to do this. Then you also have the life skill, which talks about decision making, emotional intelligence. But let's keep that to that. Now, what are these importance of skill development? You talk about a skill that will help you to improve employability and then career growth. Meaning that if you have this very good skill, then obviously there will be opportunity for you to be employed globally, not just the country where you are. This is a field, this is a skill that will position you in the face of the employer, so that when they see that the way you portray yourself, the way you put your CV, and then the way you speak, they say that no, this is the right candidate, and you are speaking to the problem, you are speaking to what they are looking for in that particular organization. They say this is the right person. They also, the product of skill development, it helps you to boost your productivity and confidence. For instance, if you have a good knowledge of the subject and you're a subject matter expert, and when you go there and they say they need someone in this particular field of cybersecurity, and you have that good knowledge and you speak to it, then the employer, the recruiter will say that no, this is the right candidate. And you're speaking to the challenges, probably previous challenge in the cyber domain environment, or even the current problem the organization is facing. Then they're happy that no, this is the right candidate. Then it also encourages innovation, adaptability in a changing job market, and that is also the truth. Now, before we're talking about malicious attackers using viruses, using some form of phishing, but today we're talking about AI. We're talking about the threat to AI. We're talking about threat to digital transformation. We're talking about threat to human, to e-commerce. We're talking about threat to web services. We're talking about threat to critical infrastructure. So, it's a changing market. And, the much the threat, the more the technology, the more the threat everyone will be facing. For instance, the mobile phone every one of us is carrying today is a small computer. It has its own threat, it has its own vulnerability. And these are things that malicious criminals are looking to exploit, to steal from individuals, also to exploit organizations. So when you talk about changing market, these are things that will be changing the market. And this will come from new technology, it will come from new application, it will come from new technique, new strategy. And so it's going to be a continuous thing. So it's not something you just sign off and then you go back. It's something that the market will need. It's something that you need to be dynamic to be able to blend and resolve problems. All right, so I think the last one is support lifelong learning and personal development. Honestly, the cybersecurity domain is not for lazy people. And this is what I mean. I mean, it's a journey. In fact, ask me, if you say today, is there any one of us who want to stop using the internet? Is there any one of us who wants to stop using the mobile phone? No. Individual, no. Organization, no. And I think another question I need to also ask is there any one of us here who would like to stop using the internet for 2 days, or who doesn't want the internet for maybe 1 week, or who can do without the internet maybe for 24 hours? I mean, I've been in different sections and I've heard people know I can't do without it except I'm sleeping. And that is the truth. Now that is individual. Let's come to organization. Which of the organization in your country can do without the internet for 24 hours? If you have an answer to that, please you can put it in the type chat. Maybe you have an organization and then they can do without the internet for 24 hours. So it's a very critical, infrastructure. And then when you talk about the internet now, you're talking about security of the platform. And that's where cybersecurity comes in. All right, because of my time, I think it's good to make it clear here because it's important that we understand how do we choose the right path in cybersecurity. And then I'm privileged. I mean, I have to bring this to you from the Knowledge Academy because there have been a lot of definition, there have been a lot of career path when it comes to cybersecurity. But I feel this is this is brief enough and then it's straightforward. Now, when you talk about the domain of cybersecurity, it's a very very wide domain that cut across different areas. And then when you ask me, as a new entry into the field, what are those key roles? What are those key areas that you can look at? Okay, you're currently on the job doing one form of cybersecurity or handling one cybersecurity role or the other. Okay, what is next for you? So I think this short, brief, diagram will guide you. So what that means is that the entry level is actually the starting point. As a person, I mean, my background was in education, and then I mean, to the grace of God, and then because I have passion in cybersecurity, it was a fight for me because I'm throwing my CVs around, going for interviews. I have to compete with guys who finish from computer science, who finish from cybersecurity, who finish from mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and we were vying for the same position. So my background was in education. They're like, wow, what are you bringing to the table? So I have to show what I was bringing to the table, and I have to compete favorably. And then I had to answer the problem to the organization. And they also saw the skill that I have the skill set. But again, it was not just about saying, there was a roadmap. And I think in the course of this conversation, I will be glad to share that. So on the entry level, you have the cybersecurity specialist, you have the cybercrime analyst, you have the incident response analyst, you have the risk analyst, the IT auditor analyst. So when you call them analysts, they are beginners. They're just coming into the field, they're just coming into the domain. So what they will be doing at this level is to support the key operation, maybe support the cybersecurity consultant or support the cybersecurity leadership in some certain, basic activities. Because, in cybersecurity, you're looking at too many things. You're looking at the network, you're looking at the application, you're looking at the cloud, you're looking at the high A, which is the artificial intelligence. You're looking at the infrastructure. You're looking at the wireless. You're looking at the database. You're looking at different areas, different things that you talk about when you talk about IT asset, infrastructure asset. And these are very critical to the organization. So as a mid-level, you need an entry-level someone, an analyst, to help you to be able to do not really a dirty job. I mean, to do those ground work, so that you can be able to put your report together, or maybe you can be able to focus on those critical areas. Then that's for the entry level. And when you talk about the entry level, anybody can fall into this entry level. You could be a graduate, maybe a fresh graduate. And I know of some universities that, also unfortunately, I'm so unfortunate that they don't have, cybersecurity as a course. And then you have the graduate who is interested in that, maybe probably visiting one seminars or attending a workshop and shows interest in this. So what that means is that you can always start as an analyst. But again, for you to start an analyst, anybody who wants to employ you as an analyst must see that you have some form of knowledge in you. For instance, have a knowledge of maybe the threat landscape, have a knowledge of how to scan the logs, how to analyze the logs, have a knowledge of how to install the antivirus, how to do incident response, and the rest of them. So these are some of the key analysts. Then when it comes to the mid-level, then you're talking about the cybersecurity consultant, and then it takes some years to get to the mid-level. And it's not just about the year on the job, but at the same time, it takes a lot of training, and then exposure on the job, for you to get to the mid level. And when you're talking about the mid level, that means you've gotten some level of confidence. Okay, you've gotten some level of exposure. You've understand the tools, tactics, and techniques for you to get to the mid level role. Then when you talk about the advanced level role, you're talking about the management role. You're talking about the security engineering role. You're talking about the CISO role, the CIO role, and the rest of them. And what this role takes is that it takes combination of the various roles. And then when you talk about the soft skill, the hard skill, this you need very well, because sometimes you're at the management level. You may have those skill set of the various mid level and the entry level skill, but however, most times you don't need to have that because you're dealing with the management. So you can always.
Sorry, Dr. Yemi, your slides are not moving. You are not sharing your slides.
Interesting. Wow.
And
All right. I mean, I won't want to distract you. Can you see my slide? You say you can't see my slide. That's serious. Can you see now?
we can see your slides. You were not moving them before.
Interesting. Okay, just 1 minute.
And
Okay,
also,
can you see it now?
Yeah, we can. And also, you have a minute for your presentation left.
Yes, I'm already rounding up.
All right.
Oh, so sorry about that. All right, I think I'll leave it like this because initially I left it at full screen. But it's okay if you can see like this. I think we should just go this way. So, all right. So, like I was saying, I'm actually talking about the advanced level, which is the senior level role. So, in the senior level role, there are some certain skill sets, there are some certain skills, competencies that are required of you. At the senior level role, you might not really need to be that very technical. And what I say technical is maybe performing penetration testing, doing web application testing, or maybe doing vulnerability assessment. But again, you must be able to have the soft skill and the hard skill, which is a little of technical skill, and understand the threat landscape so that you can be able to communicate with the leadership and to be able to get the buy-in that are required. And I think at this point in time, I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yemi, for that wonderful session. Something important I took from your session is skill development help productivity and confidence. So I hope every other person took their notes as well. And we have a few questions, but these questions will be taken after the second speaker. So now we are on the second speaker, and I'm going to be introducing the second speaker, which is Ms. Nanbaan Pwaspo. Nanbaan is a cybersecurity professional working at the intersection of cybersecurity policy and digital rights. As a digital security specialist, she designs and leads cybersecurity strategies that advance cyber resilience and safeguard the organization's ability to fight corruption. She's ultimately driven by a passion to combine her technical expertise with innovative solutions, guiding individuals and organizations to use technology safely, securely, and ethically. All right. So thank you so much, Nanbaan. Nanbaan, are you here with us?
Hi, Bex. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much for joining us on this webinar today. So, Ms. Nanbaan, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Peculiar. Thank you to the GoLegit team for hosting this session and inviting me. I am incredibly honored and I'm excited to be here with you. Thank you, Doctor, for your session. It was very insightful and it feels very good to be speaking after you are. For me, like Peculiar said, I am a digital security specialist and I work with global teams to protect civil society organizations from threats and attacks. But before all that, I was also just a student and a learner like many people today. And I studied cybersecurity for my bachelor's degree, but I quickly realized since like my second year that I wanted to build a real career, not just, what I was learning from school, which if you school in Nigeria, you definitely know that it's mostly just lectures and exams. So I really had to do beyond the classroom. And while I was still a student, I started to volunteer, to join online communities and try to upskill and build my own experience basically one small project at a time. I was building building my way up. So I'll be talking about practical experience, job opportunities, and mentorship today. First off, it is definitely possible to break into cybersecurity. You do not necessarily have to have the motivation and a bit of savvy these days. However, a difficult a difficulty that many job seekers face is that a large number of available roles are usually senior or above, as they usually require prerequisite technical knowledge. So, if you are in university or looking to go back, the below advice should really help you avoid the unfortunate situations with being a cybersecurity graduate or a computer science graduate or just a graduate generally that is learning cybersecurity with no hope of a job. So there's other pathways, of course. That's one thing about security. Security is applicable everywhere, and we know that. So there's literally no, well, there's not necessarily any niche that you cannot apply security to. Um, so advice wise, the first thing I would say is spend your time wisely in school, outside school, and when you are learning. You need to be able to enjoy learning, but also focus on your end goal, which is a career. So don't take it easy on courses, on your professors, and at least even the technical courses that you take online. Find a way to share what you're learning and document it. Participate in CTF clubs. Even if no one is interested, look for people, that you don't know. Try to collaborate with them, try to work with them, try to learn with them. Find a way to find a way to be involved in community, whether it's local communities in your schools, in your church, in your place of work, or random communities that you find online. It always helps to do that. Another thing I'd like to say is certifications do not necessarily equal career growth. Cybersecurity certifications are massively useful. Don't get me wrong, they are very useful, but they are not necessarily the silver bullet anymore. Um, Years ago, I mean, if you had like a security plus, even till today, it would definitely help you go past many stages of interview and it will put you above other candidates. But these days, the market is filled with certified individuals who cannot get jobs. And if you go to LinkedIn, you would see a lot of them. So don't go overboard with certifications, but make sure you balance them with hands-on learning skills. I feel like many people have made this mistake a lot of times, and it's it created career stagnation for them, which brings me to my next point. Don't neglect a career plan. So does your strategy equal waiting for your managers or your organization to promote you in the coming year or getting a bonus? Is that really what you are thinking about by the time you get your first cybersecurity job? It's one of the easiest ways for you to get frustrated in your career. Don't wait around for things to happen. Learning always continues, just like doctor says, like it's years and years of learning. So open LinkedIn, find your dream job. By the time you get your dream job, gap yourself against it. What does that mean? What area or skills are you falling short in? If you were training to be a SOC analyst and you finally got that position, after getting that position in the next 2 years, what roles will you be looking for next? Or do you really just want to sit in that position waiting for a promotion, or what next could happen for you? These are things to always consider when you're doing that. Now, getting an internship is really hard, especially in places like Nigeria, where there's little organizations that are doing specific work in cybersecurity and also practical work in cybersecurity. But what I would say and what worked for me is aim for security roles, but also settle for the non-technical roles if necessary. And internship, of course, would be a better way for you to spend your time than just being at home, especially during holidays or when you're not working. I also wanted an internship as early as possible, and I was very lucky that I had the right connections and I had the right help from the right people to help me. Also, volunteering really, really helped me, because through volunteering, I was able to connect with a lot of senior professionals that could guide me when I needed help, where it was necessary for someone to step in and put in a word for me. So look for some of the certifications that interest you. If you cannot get certified before you graduate or before you get to the point where you need a job, just start looking for jobs. You'll definitely be ahead of the pack. The experience job searching alone keeps you ahead of the pack, because you already know what to expect. You already know the gaps that you have, and you know what is necessary for you to fill it. So if you want to build technical skills, go on platforms and continue to learn. There's Hack the Box, there's Try Hack Me, and there's also like advanced platforms that can help you to improve on your skills. Also, I wanted to mention target rotation, leadership, and early career development programs. Now, there aren't necessarily many of these in the cybersecurity field, but like I mentioned when I started talking earlier, cybersecurity is applicable any and everywhere. So you may find yourself working in health. I think I have been fortunate to know someone who was a cyber girl before, and she used to work in a health startup. But after she had finished her training as a cyber girl, she was able to she was able to transition and become a security analyst in that company, which was really impactful for her. Many large companies and even smaller companies have IT. They have IT departments. Have IT development programs. Some of them don't necessarily have IT security programs within the organizations. For development programs, there are usually a set of period for them where you can run through get some mentorship, get some guidance, do some training. Some of them are comprehensive, some of them are not. But at the end of the day, also it's also how determined you are. I was When I was doing my internship as a student, were a lot of interns, but at the end of the day, you could handpick the number of people that ended up doing like meaningful work and learning from it. And it wasn't because there wasn't anything to learn, but it was also because most people were not really interested. And because of your interest level, because of how proactive you are to tasks, to finding out what's needed in the department or in the security, yeah, in security operations, people will notice you. The higher ups will give you more to do, and they would be able to entrust you with things that were probably not even in the plan for you or for your job or for your internship. So proactiveness is very important when you are given a task, when you have to serve in a particular organization or with a particular set of people, whether it is volunteering or it is a full-time job. It is very important that you do whatever you have to do carefully and thoroughly. That is my definition of diligence. Diligence is basically taking your time to do things carefully and thoroughly. It pays off, and I think I'm a living testimony of that. It really pays off because I have done a lot of volunteering right from when I was in my 200 level, 300 level, 400 level. I took out the time to work with different organizations and non-profits, especially focused on security. And it really helped me, whether it was technically and it was also theoretically, and when it comes to education and awareness. So also for programs are usually tight these days, and there's a lot of people that are fighting for slots, especially when it comes to training programs and facilitated programs, because many people do not want to self-learn. They don't want to take the time to. It's also hard to self-learn, I must admit. So programs are usually tight. Is incredibly hard to get into some of these things sometimes. It is very important that you take your time to outline some of these things, do your research, see when they are coming out, when the applications are coming out, note it, and probably start working on your application. So, how do you plan to stand out? What have you been learning that you think would help in your application? What have you been learning that you think would be important or would support your application adequately? Um, Another thing I think I would like to point out is when it comes to mentorship. Mentorship is one of the things that have changed my life. And I know that not everyone is fortunate to have a mentor or a dedicated mentor to help them out in transitioning or through their career. And these days, the cybersecurity industry is growing vastly. And I think the mentor to mentee ratio is definitely far apart. You can't necessarily force it down someone's throat to mentor you or to come and help you or to offer you help. In many cases, I've heard of people that meet people at events or meet people that they have been following for a long time and say, I want you to mentor me, and they're like, I'm really busy, but okay, I can do that for you. And you don't necessarily hear back from them, or you keep sending emails and they respond to you when it is convenient for them, which is not a bad thing. But what I would also like to say is that as far as growth is concerned, it's very nice that you put connecting and working with people ahead of mentorship, especially when it comes to people that are far ahead of you. Some may not necessarily have the time or the convenience to help mentor you immediately, but what they can do for you is they can work with you on something. So put if you put your foot forward and you say, okay, hi, I'm Nanbaan. I have been learning about this. I like the work that you do. I would love to be a part of a project that you're working on or anything related to, say, identity and access management, and you share a contact or you keep in touch maybe on LinkedIn. When next they have something and they need assistance, they can always think of you and reach out to you. And that's like a little brick that you're using to build your career. From there, they recommend you to someone else that they know. And from there, your career keeps going brick by brick and step by step. Um, Mentorship, like I said, is very important. It's helped me in my current career, in my previous career. Till today, I still have mentors that I run to when I hit random blocks and challenges, and I'm like, can you help me with this? What do you think I should do in this situation? And I think I was only able to build that because like I said, I've been quite diligent in my work, from volunteering roles to paid roles. I've also tried to work especially when I had enough time and convenience. I've tried to work on certain things with people and volunteer and help them and just see what they are doing and how I could be of help to them. And it helped me to connect with them further than when we met or how we met or where we met. So that's another angle to look at mentorship from. And in the case that you get lucky and you have a very good mentor, it's always important that you don't take that for granted. When access is granted to you, especially by certain people who have busy lives, who have busy careers, and who have a truckload of things to do with their time, it's very important that you don't abuse it. It's very important that you also give as much as you take. So people are, giving you advice, they're giving you contacts, they're giving you a lot of information from their own life, from their career, from how they have also grown. And you always have to pause and ask yourself, what can I do for this person? Not necessarily monetary wise or financially wise. It can be in the form of a kind, it can be in the form of help, it can be in the form of someone is mentoring you, is an opportunity for you to mentor another person under you. So you may not be, the most knowledgeable person in the room. And like we've been saying from beginning, like learning never stops, but you've gotten to a level where it's possible for you to also help another person. Besides, we also learn by teaching. So as far as career goes, like there's really no limits to how much you can grow. And as long as you keep growing, there's always more knowledge that you keep acquiring. So always think of how you can also give back the same way people are giving to you. And I think with that I would end this and we can move on to the questions. Thank you, Peculiar.
Thank you so much, Nanbaan, for that wonderful um, presentation. Really appreciate. So we're now at the Q&A session, and the first question from the chat box is from Mohammed Hassan, and this question is directed to Dr. Yemi. So the question says, is coding background supportive in cybersecurity field? So Dr. Yemi, you can kindly unmute and.
All right. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful, take from Nanbaan. So to answer the question from Mohammed, coding background is a very key component of cybersecurity, because when you talk about coding, you're talking about some processes, some scripts, some applications that will drive an operation, and the operation could be to support maybe the industrial control system, or to support the e-commerce, or to support the manufacturing, or to support the database. So coding is a very essential part of cybersecurity, but there's something you need to get right here. And when you talk about coding, you're speaking from the application perspective, you're speaking from the software perspective. So when you need to adapt this to cybersecurity, then you will be talking about coding security or coding vulnerability assessment. So if you're a coder, then you need a security person or even you yourself to be able to identify if that code has some form of security vulnerabilities or have some bugs, inside that code. So that when you launch that code, it does not create or maybe bring, maybe a kind of opening, or maybe create a kind of, let me put it now. There's a word I'm trying to use now. Create a kind of a backdoor, into the application or into the database program. So as a coder, it's part of what is required to drive the operation in the cybersecurity domain. But as a coder or a cybersecurity person, you need to have a good knowledge of how to assess the code to be able to identify the vulnerability, the security flaws, the bugs that the malicious criminal can identify and then circumvent the operation of the code. So it's a component, but it's a two-way thing. You can be a coder to develop the code, then you can be a security person to identify the bugs, the vulnerability in the code, and then it's a security chain to help us have a secure cyber ecosystem.
All right, thank you so much, for that, Dr. Yemi. I'm sure that answers your question, Mohammed Hassan. If you are still here, I'm sure that answers your question. He also has another question, which says, how is the work-life balance in cybersecurity field, and which job domain provides you good work-life balance? And this question is also directed to Dr. Yemi.
I think this question came when I said that the cybersecurity domain is not for lazy people. So you have to choose wisely. Maybe by the time Nanbaan, answer this question, maybe she'll be able to, balance it. Okay, I mean, just to say that I've been in the industry for quite some years now. And I remember, if I could recall back, my first book on cybersecurity, which is The Internet and You, is actually about 12 years old today. So, there are different domains in cybersecurity. And I think one of the domain that a lot of people are running into is the GRC domain. And the reason why they are going into the GRC domain is because it's more of reading, complying to the regulatory requirements, aligning with the frameworks, also assessing the policy, processes, and procedure, making your organization to comply with the regulatory or the compliance act. So maybe if you see that as a balance and maybe a less stress in cybersecurity, well, that's good for you. But I want to tell you that the cybersecurity domain is actually, I would say, it's challenging. In fact, from the Economic Work Forum, from the analysis they did recently, they found out that a lot of people are even running away from the cybersecurity domain because they feel that it's too stressful. And that is just the truth about it. It's stressful because you have to respond to the latest threat. You have to respond to the latest vulnerability. You have to respond to the latest infrastructure risk. And all eyes are on you. For instance, let's use a bank as an example. A bank is launching out a new application. And bank, they keep changing their initiative, they keep churning out new products. And these are the things that they need to drive their business. So as they develop new products, based on the customer requirement or the customer demands. Then it leverage on you as a coder to be able to develop a secure code that will support that initiative to help the bank achieve their goal in meeting the consumer request or consumer requirement. And don't forget that these days banks are competing because they want someone who can offer them a seamless, less stressful product and services. Just a click, I want to withdraw my money. Just a scan, I want to transfer money. So this has to do with software development coding, and then you have to factor in security into it. So GRC is a less stress area from my perspective. Then other ones, you have to develop the code, you have to identify the vulnerability to ensure that the bank or your organization is not exposed. And don't forget, for the cybersecurity professionals, you need to ensure that those areas of vectors which your organization is exposed to, you need to make sure that at least you have 100% protection on those areas. But the cyber criminals need just one entry point. So you could see where is the stuff. So you have to be on top of your game. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Yemi. I hope that answers your question, Mohammed Hassan. All right, so we have another question, and this question was asked during Nanbaan session. And the question is, what projects can SOC analysts do to include in their portfolio? So, Ms. Nanbaan, you can unmute and speak now. Thank you.
Thank you, Peculiar. Sorry, can you run me through the question again?
All right, so the question says, what projects can a SOC analyst do to include in their portfolio?
Oh, okay. So, like I said during my session, there's different parts in cybersecurity, and regardless of where you are, there's always like opportunities for you to learn and improve. And for your portfolio is basically documentation of what you've been learning and what you can do. In a SOC environment, there's different operations, of course. you can consider things like SIM simulation, log analysis, set up free SIM products like Security Onions, Plunk Free. There's also Wazo. You can create dashboards to monitor simulated network traffics, detect what's going on in the environment, the anomalies, the false positives, etc. You can also do phishing detection exercises. These are some of the things that we learned when we were still doing cybersecurity trainings. You can do phishing detection exercises, collect and analyze phishing emails, document some of the indicators of compromise, and create maybe an awareness material, add it to your portfolio. I think I remember some weeks ago, I was having a conversation with some people within my organization. And one of the things that has really helped me, especially in my cybersecurity career, that I've realized lately is documentation. Documentation is really important. The little things and the big things, the smallest incidents, and even some of the operations within the organization, or while you're learning, if you're working on something and you see that it's an important task, always document the little things. It helps you to go back to reflect and also to tie in some of the things that are related. So depending on different levels, there are different things you can work on. Like I said, log analysis, SIM simulation, phishing detection. If you're trying to go higher level, you can consider threat hunting, incident response simulation. So you create like a mock incident. So for example, like a ransomware infection, document, ensure you document. Documentation is really important. Document everything about the incident. So the detection, the containment, the eradication, the way you were able to recover from the incident, and the lessons learned. And I'm sure there's always like more projects out there. You can just check online or ask an AI prompt and you get inspiration on some of these things that you can do.
All right, thank you so much, Nanbaan, for that insight. I hope that answered your question. Thank you, Grishon Maria. Thank you so much. Okay, so I have a couple of questions for Dr. Yemi. And okay, so the question is, you've built a successful global cybersecurity career. What decision or turning point shaped your journey for you as a professional, sir?
Thank you so much, Peculiar, for that question. Wow, what decision, what turning point? Actually, there were many, but I think I'll just give just few of them. Number one, I was a victim of scam before. I was a victim of scammers before, and maybe that was one of the things that actually alerted my mind to that. And then, I have a very good background in IT. And then I remember I had an incident, working with the organization where some malicious element, scammed the MD of the organization. It was an hospital. So the MD was actually in the UK, and I don't know how the cyber criminals, how they got, they compromised the email of the MD, and they started sending an email to all his contacts requesting for money that the MD was actually on the sick bed. So, the MD flew up, contacted the law enforcement agency, and then one of the first suspect has to do with the IT company I was working for. So they said, "Whoa, the first people we actually feel is the IT company supporting you, the suspect." And I actually led the team to that particular organization. So we had a conversation with the law enforcement. I saw the strategy, the pattern, and everything, and how it went, and that triggered my interest. Then another thing again was when I passed my first ethical hacking exam, and then was recognized by the chairman, the CEO of EC Council. So that actually also made another one. The another thing again is that helping organization, this when you have these vibes in you of like what Naban said, you've been in the lab trying to train yourself, developing your technical skill set, and then you got a job as a security analyst in a consulting firm, and you're able to practicalize in real life, penetrating into system, helping organizations to improve their security control, helping organizations to enhance their infrastructure. So this was a changing point for me because I was doing the real ethical hacking and penetration testing, and I was seeing the result. And then they were seeing the value, so it was really a turning point for me. And then let me just keep it to that. So that's just brief.
All right, thank you so much for that wonderful answer. I also have a question for Ms. Nanbaan, and the question is, how can young professionals in Africa access international job opportunities? So, Ms. Nanbaan, you can unmute and speak.
Okay. Finding job opportunities locally and globally. I think that the internet has made it really, really easy for us. Not necessarily really easy, especially for people from Africa and Nigeria in particular, because I cannot count the number of opportunities I've also missed out on being Nigerians. But I'm saying the internet has made it more accessible and easier for us because you have an opportunity to meet with people online, to look at the work that they are doing, to connect with some of these organizations, what they need, and the kind of skills you can build towards that. So the first thing I will press on is um, networking. It's not just enough that you have these skills. It's not just enough that you can hack or you are a pro in penetration testing or incident hunting. Who do you know? Who do you have in your network? What do you know about the work that they do and how they work and the people they serve and everything about them? Like I said, the internet has made it very accessible for us. So for me, I would say one thing that really helped me, like I said, I'll still press on this, is volunteering, because through volunteering for one organization, you work with the partners that they have, you see the kind of work that they do and the people that do similar work in their space. And apart from volunteering, networking on LinkedIn, on Twitter, wherever you have, like, your career life, um meet people online, contribute to some of the work that they are doing, have them notice you, and also document your own journey. Let them see the kind of work that you are doing as well, because there's a lot of talent back home, but there's also, like, people don't necessarily know that you exist. People don't know what you're doing because it's not everybody's CV that is online. Even on LinkedIn, like, I can visit your LinkedIn profile today, and the only thing I'll see is your name or probably the school that you went to. For some people, they have it there outlined, what they have been working on, the things that they have been doing, who they have been working with, the specific topics and projects that they have done. And while this does not work for everybody, there's a high percentage that it would work for most people that try to do it. So build a strong online profile, share what you're learning, especially these days. In the past, it was easier because the okay. Yeah, the cybersecurity industry was not as saturated as it is right now. And also the job opportunities are, getting filled up very fast. Another thing you can do is apply for fellowships and different initiatives, especially global ones. For me, one thing I used to do was I would always try to look for the element of security in some of these initiatives. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, and that's for me in particular, it doesn't necessarily have to be restricted to cybersecurity or the cybersecurity path that you are currently working in. One thing that we forget as professionals is that security is not necessarily the same, but it's applicable everywhere. And there's like a thin line between your job and the next person that is doing security. So somehow you get to learn about what the other people are doing. And it's not a sin if you do something outside what you do on a normal day. It's also part of learning and growing. So if you see opportunities that interest you, whether it fits into the scope of your work, you are not limited, you're not in a box. Because you are a SOC analyst does not mean you cannot look for or go after threat hunting opportunities. As far as it's something you can do and you feel like you have a genuine interest in, it can always put you forward. Besides, in many places there are some roles that are fastly growing ahead of others. And you can't say just because I studied cybersecurity, or for example, like myself now, I now work in issues that have to do with policy, and sometimes I work with human rights and civil society organizations. I didn't learn any of that in school. It's not on my certificate. I don't necessarily have certifications to back up that I can work with non-profit. But because of the affiliations I've had and the kind of work I have done in the past, this kind of puts me ahead of, certain other candidates, because I have experience in this place and I've been proactive in this space and trying to learn outside the technical skills I have. So apply for fellowships and programs and talent initiatives that you usually, would help you to grow. Use platforms. Well, I don't know about this, but there are platforms where you can go to look for cybersecurity jobs across the world. You can use some of those platforms. Look for jobs that you are qualified for, or jobs that have descriptions where you fit into the category, not necessarily completely, but if you see that there's something you can do there, you should always go ahead and apply for it. Like, you might get a rejection, but it doesn't really hurt. It doesn't really hurt. One day you get the yes that you've been looking for. And I use myself as an example, because when people don't usually believe me, but when they ask me, oh, how did you get your job and how did you were you able to relocate, I always say that I do not remember. I was looking for opportunities constantly and applying to different jobs that I felt like I was capable of doing, but I don't remember the exact site I found it. I don't even know whether it was LinkedIn or it was through my email. I've gone through my email and I don't see any trace. But I'm just trying to say that it would work out somehow. So just go ahead. Like, it doesn't hurt to apply for anything.
All right, thank you so much. Please, can you confirm you can still hear me? All right, thank you so much, Nanbaan. And before you go, I would just like you to, we are going to wrap up now. And before you go, I would just like you to give a take home, one piece of advice to anybody that wants to start today.
I think I would say just start, learn something new. Don't confine yourself to any topic or any pathway in particular. If you have an opportunity to learn, take it. And if you have the time as well, don't waste it on just looking for opportunities. Try to upskill, break something, fix something, and share as you are doing it. Always remember that you don't have to have like a cybersecurity degree, you don't have to have like an information security degree. You just have to start learning and sharing the process. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Nanbaan, for that parting gift to everyone on this session. All right, so Mohammed Hassan, I can see that you were not on the session when Dr. Yemi answered your question. So I'll kindly like that you reach out to him on his LinkedIn. His LinkedIn profile is Adeyemi Ademiluyi. So you can reach out to him and he's going to answer. I'm very sure Dr. Yemi is going to give you answers to your questions. And also, you can also reach out to Nanbaan at Nanbaan Pwaspo if you want more insights, if you want her to give you more insights on mentorship and any other thing. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. I hope we had something to take home from the speakers. And I would like that you follow the initiative that brought this session to you, which is the GoLegit. I would like you to follow them on all social media. They are GoLegit Official on X, which is formerly Twitter, GoLegit Initiative on LinkedIn, and also GoLegit Africa on Instagram. You can also check out their website at www.golegitafrica. All right, thank you so much for this wonderful session. Thank you for having me as your moderator and host for this session. I hope to see you guys in any other session that will be brought to you by GoLegit Africa. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.